The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Welcome to the Great Debaters Contest. This is the Kakamega leg of our countrywide tour. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Our motion today is African countries ought to burn fossil fuels in order to industrialize. We have St. Monica's Chakol going against Cardinal Otunga girls. Mariam, who is going to take away this debate?
Only they can answer that, Austin. First proposer, you have 3 minutes.
For African countries to industrialize, then fossil fuels must be in the mix. This is according to World Bank. Musumbu Valentine Mula, Cardinal Otunga Girls High School, proposing the motion, African countries should ban fossil fuels to industrialize. What are fossil fuels, my dear? Fossil fuels are organic compounds that were buried millions of years ago and are now being used as fuels. This is according to Certificate Geography, Book 4, topic Energy. These include coal, natural gas, and petroleum. Industrialization. This refers to the growth of industries. Fossil fuels, industrialization. For us to industrialize, we need fossil fuels. For us to run our machines, we need these fossil fuels. Petroleum is needed to run our industries. Our goods need fossil fuels to be manufactured. On to my first point. Fossil fuels and industrialization boost our economy. 86.4% of primary energy is sourced back to fossil fuels. This is according to Energy Information Administration of the USA. 90% of Angola and Nigeria's export is sourced back to fossil fuels. This is based from African Economic Department. Just imagine what happens to Angola and Nigeria once they lose their oil. Imagine what happens to that economy, because 2/3 of their budget is mainly based on oil. My dear, let's be realistic. We need this oil to run our industries. Secondly, we have source of employment. Have you ever tried to imagine what happens to us if we stop burning these fossil fuels and these oil refineries and the people working in these oil refineries? What happens to them, my dear? They lose their jobs. But if we ban these fossil fuels, then automatically employment is there for all. The impact of employment is very evident. If people are employed, believe me, the crime rates will decrease. The crime rates will decrease. The living standards will increase. The poverty level will reduce. One of the sustainable development goals is to eradicate poverty. If we provide employment to these people, are we not going to eradicate poverty? On to my third point. Removal of fossil fuels will paralyze transportation. We say that cars move because they have oil, petroleum, and diesel. Just imagine our transportation without oil and diesel. Are we going to move? Let's be realistic. Thank you.
In the year 1999, in a certain community, a girl was born. That girl lived in that community where the extraction of fossil fuel had occurred. I am Oano Dorcas from St. Monica Chakol Girls High School, all the way from Busia County, to oppose the motion that states African countries ought to ban fossil fuel in order to industrialize. And what are fossil fuels? According to my own understanding, fossil fuels are fuels such as coal and oil, which were formed over 1 million years ago from remains of plants and animals. And the word industrialize comes from the word industrialization, and this means the growth and development of industries. And to my first point, I would like to say that the burning of fossil fuel causes environmental pollution. And why do I say this? When fossil fuel are extracted, it causes the emission of some poisonous gases, such as carbon dioxide, which cause global warming. And this leads to the melting of polar ice caps at the northern pole countries, and it can also lead to flooding in the low-lying areas. For instance, in Kenya, Mount Kenya is known to be one of the snow-capped mountains, which attracts tourists, which makes our country to earn foreign exchange as far as tourism industry is concerned. So, are you going to tell me that we are going to attract tourists to come to our country when we are going to participate in burning of the fossil fuel? When we burn fossil fuel, it is going to make the polar ice caps to melt, and that will not be able to make our country industrialize as far as tourism is concerned. The judges, I would like to ask you this question. Would you like to visit a country that was known for the best tourist attraction in Kenya, and you find out that the tourist attractions have been destroyed because of the burning of fossil fuel? Judge Maina, Sophia, would you like to visit such a country? I believe not. And to my second point, I would like to say that fossil fuel are non-renewable. And why do I say this? Non-renewable sources of energy are limited. For instance, if we burn fossil fuel today in Kenya, it will take a very long period of time. Like, for example, it might even take 60 years or a million years for the fossil fuel to be formed again. And that is going to lead to the decline of industrialization in our country. A good example is the Ruhr region in Germany, where it is known of coal mines. But we find out that the burning of the fossil fuel has caused to the depleting of the coal mines. And this is leading to the decline of industrialization in that country. And it is even making them to import coal from other countries. So I firmly oppose the motion that states African countries ought to burn fossil fuel in order to industrialize. Thank you very much.
Ready for cross-examinations now? Proposition, you have 3 minutes.
Maskini yatazidi kuwa maskini na tajiri yatajirika zaidi. Industrialization. I believe that Africa is not a black continent, but Africa is a continent full of light waiting to be unleashed. Susan Hassoa from Cardinal Otunga Girls High School. Here I have 2 bottles. A bottle with water and a bottle without water. When you go to purchase a bottle of mineral water, you go for the water and the bottle. Let's say the bottle does not have water. It will have no use to you, right? Now, let's take Nigeria. According to Africa Economic Report of 2016, 90% of Nigeria's exports are oil, and it makes up 2/3 of their budget. If we remove oil from Nigeria, meaning Nigeria economy becomes as good as useless. Now, my fellow colleagues say that if these fossil fuels actually, they say, cause global warming. Do not forget, 78% of Africa's energy come from burning of wood. Wood causes approximately 1.3 million deaths in Africa yearly. How is that? Due to lethal indoor poisoning. This is according to the report of John Lombok under his journal of Why Africa Needs Fossil Fuel. Employment. I live in Webuye. I was there in 2009 and I was 10 years old, meaning I could comprehend what was happening. My neighbor had to be evacuated from his house because he lost his job. My friend had to leave his school because he could not pay school fees. Imagine if an oil refining company like that one in Changamwe had to be stopped because burning of fossil fuel is not allowed. How many people will lose their jobs? According to our sustainable development goals, one of it is to eradicate poverty. The second one is to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Will we achieve these sustainable development goals? Will we? Mark you, oil will improve our economy. How? According to Lombok's journal, if we're able to industrialize our continent using oil, Africa will be $7 trillion richer. Imagine, 230 million Africans will access electricity. Imagine, will we achieve our sustainable development goals with that? Do you know that in the 19th century, whale oil was used to light lamps? Do you know? Do you know that whale is among our rare species animals? Fossil fuel was used to compensate the use of whale oil. So, my fellow learned friends, join us. Let us industrialize Africa. Let us move from neo-colonialism and let us boost our economy. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
For Kenya to achieve Vision 2030, whose main aim is to increase industrialization and to provide a suitable environment for the Kenyan community, I, Mrs. Cynthia from St. Monica, Chakol, hereby oppose the motion that says that African countries ought to ban fossil fuels to industrialize. Just but to ask you, my opponent, what have you just done while you were banning the fossil fuels? We are just shocked as you did that. Imagine now Africa has not started banning its own fossil fuels, and we are still feeling the global warming. What if all the African countries start doing that? Will you go against the international protocols which are placed against emission of gases during the banning of fossil fuels just because you want to industrialize? Examples of oil fuels. Oil spills in some of the countries. We have the Atlantic press in oil spills in July 1979. Millions of birds died. Millions of fish died. Imagine those other industries that use this fish. Imagine those other tourism industries that benefit from these birds for people to visit. You can sing all songs. You can ban all fuels. But I still stand firm to oppose these motions. Imagine your family, imagine your friends losing their own homes just because the area you're staying wants to be used to ban fossil fuels. Imagine you working with a sick nation. Do you want to work with people who are not able to help you because of a sick nation? We need huge amount of money in order for us to ban these fossil fuels. Why do I say so? We need to buy machines in order for us to ban these fossil fuels. And how long are we going to take to compensate on this? Imagine the effect of banning of fossil fuels onto the aquatic lives. Imagine its effects on human life. I still oppose the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The proposition have been asked to give and clarify on the uses of coal that they talked about, and the opposition have been tasked with answering how do we industrialize without burning fossil fuels. We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Ayako Cessna, Cardinal Otunga Girls High School, proposing the motion that African countries need to ban fossil fuels to industrialize. Just answering question posed to us by our friend, coal is used in tar to make roads. The roads that we use, they are made of coal from tar. Our friends asked us that what did we just do? We burnt wood, not fossil fuel. And wood causes, the way she coughed, it's pollution. So we get infections from that. Her cough, that's the symptom of the pollution from the wood, not fossil fuel. Okay, Chinedu Nebo, and I quote, once stated that Africa is in huge darkness. Whatever can be done to get Africa to light, I think we should encourage it to be done. 60% of Africa needs basic energy. And for this to happen, we need the necessary bridge, and these are fossil fuels. That is according to Africa report of 2016. What do I mean? 238 million of people will have access to energy. That is, if we ban fossil fuels. I take an example of John Lombok's journal, Why We Should Ban Fossil Fuels in Africa. He once stated that China was a third world country whereby it was very poor. But China decided to start banning fossil fuel. And when you look at China right now, it has eradicated poverty. Like, it has decreased poverty from 89% to less than 10%. And Kenya, we have discovered oil in Turkana. What if we ban this oil and start using it in our industries?
where will Kenya be in the next coming 10 to 15 years? This will ensure that we will have continuous production of goods. Many industries are going to come up in that when this oil is burnt, many industries are going to come up and we are going to have a lot of goods being produced. Like, for example, we process tea ourselves, but not that we use that tea to process the refined tea that we use, we buy it from outside. And the ironical thing is that we buy it at high prices. Why don't we use these fossil fuels to come up with industries that can use them so that we can come up with an industry that can refine this tea of ours into better quality? Since we export the good products outside, why can't we refine it ourselves and use it ourselves? That will ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns according to SDG. Just like my colleague had said about whale. Whale is one of our rare species. And you find that whale was killed so that we can get this oil from it. And it is our rare species. So when fossil fuels were established, they started using fossil fuels, meaning that our rare species will be intact. My friends, cross over and let's ban fossil fuels so that we can industrialize as African nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Opposition, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
A very good friend of mine, Nelson Mandela, if you know him, once explained this to me. My deepest fear is not that I'm inadequate. My deepest fear is that I'm powerful. Actually, very powerful. Today, I stand here from St. Monica Chakol Girls to oppose the motion that says Kenya ought to ban fossil fuels in order to industrialize. I'd like to answer the questions that my fellow colleague has asked. We have clean sources of energy that we can use, like hydroelectric and solar, and also natural gas. To my fellow opponents here, we cannot cross over, yet we still have some points to give out. Just 10 years ago, extracting electricity through solar cost £600. Extracting natural gas and wind cost £100. But as time went by, the renewable resources has plunged quickly. Now we can extract power through solar at only £100, and we can extract wind and natural gas at only 50. And there's this blog in the internet, www.Africa Speak Out. It is where Africans from each and every continent here in Africa gives out his views. One person from Uganda said that Africans love cheap things. And I was surprised to see that he was seconded by very many people from this African. So, with the reduction of prices of both solar, natural gas and wind, why can't we just jump over and use these resources? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear final statements, beginning with the proposing team. You have 1 minute.
I believe that a dream can become a reality, but a reality can never become a dream. Once again, Musumba Valentine Mula. I want to see Kenya and Africa go somewhere better. My dear, you talked about natural gas. Natural gas is a fossil fuel. What are you trying to tell us? You can as well join us here because you're just trying to tell us that natural gas can also work, which is a fossil fuel. I will live and die in Africa, but I will never want to see Africa live and die in poverty. I am 100% sure that if we use fossil fuels in our industries, then Africa is going somewhere better. Just imagine what Africa will be in 10 to 15 years. Just imagine what Kenya looks like in 10 to 15 years once what my colleague has talked about, the power plant in Turkana, works out. My dear, please, my learned colleagues, join us and let us use fossil fuels to industrialize. Thank you.
Opposition, let's hear your final statement. You also have 1 minute.
Once again, I'm Oano Dorcas. I would like to say this. that when fossil fuel have to be extracted from that place where my fellow students are just seated, they will have to be displaced from that place. But I object that. Do you know why? Because I am patriotic to my country and I love my fellow citizens. And that's why I will not allow fossil fuel to be extracted in our country, because it will cause displacement of people. Because my greatest joy is when I see people succeeding because I've made a difference in their lives. My fellow debaters, I would like to say this, that you may sing as many songs you want to sing. You may quote as many quotations you want to quote. And you may ask as many questions you want to ask. But I still say no. Because you know why? I remember the words of Albert Einstein, who said that a change does not come by physical action or by mental thought, but by mental thought. Meaning that you cannot wake up one morning and say that you want to ban fossil fuel when you have not considered the consequences of banning fossil fuel. So therefore, I would like you to cross over and join us in saying that African countries should not ban fossil fuels. Thank you very much.
For Otieno, and that is for St. Monica, passionate, good speaker. I think you matched up with Kasoa. I think it was we could tell that both of you were very passionate. Nonetheless, for you, Otieno, we noticed that you did not use your time fully, and that was penalized. Emily, yes, that was a good attempt to even tackle the question. The question is extraction costs that you give from what was happening and everything else. What is your source? To Cardinal Otunga, very good speaker. Now that's to you, Musumba, very good speaker, good submissions as well. Nonetheless, you want to also connect everything that you're saying to industrialization. Employment, transportation was better than the employment angle that you brought in. Kosoa, very good speaker as well. I would say you're quite lethal because we could tell how passionate you are, and that was commendable of you as a debater. Nonetheless, you don't want to speak too fast and miss out on all the points. Ayeko, good speaker, well done.
St. Monica Chakol. The judges awarded you 67%. Please give them a round of applause. And Cardinal Otunga girls, the judges saw it fit to award you 70%. You're our winners for the debate.
Congratulations to Cardinal Otunga, but of course both teams did a very good job. Thank you to our audience and those of you at home for watching. Remember to give us your feedback, #GDC for SDGs. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Catch you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.